Thank you to everybody that's joined us today. This is our first session of the 2018 AgrAbility Virtual National Training Workshop. This is our 6th web conference that we've held like this. Hopefully you'll be able to join us for some of the other webinars during the next 3 days, and we'll be talking about those a little bit later. Our first presentation today is going to be from our NIFA project leader, Aida Balsano, and we'll get started in just a minute. My name is Paul Jones, by the way, for those who may not know me. I'm the project manager of the National AgrAbility Project, and that's headquartered here at Purdue University. We'll give you a little bit more information about AgrAbility in just a minute for those that are not familiar. Just to give you a few basic housekeeping instructions before we get going with our actual presentation. Hopefully you have been able to connect your audio, and you can check those connections through the Communicate menu, which is at the top left of your screen. If you need to run a test or adjust your communication connection, you can do that. Anyone needing closed captioning, you'll need to go to the Media Viewer, and that is at the bottom right. You can expand that window with the arrow on the side. You may have to enter some just basic login information in order to see those captions, but you should be able to access them and also adjust the size and the color of the captions. Any of the windows, or yes, at the bottom right of your screen, can be adjusted. You can contract them with the arrow. You can also expand or contract that entire column by dragging in between that and the presentation window. If you have questions about what's being shared during the presentation, please feel free to use the chat window, which is also on your right-hand column. You can expand that. If you're not seeing that, you can go to the top and make sure that that chat icon is colored blue. If you have questions, again, please enter the text into the chat area and then make sure you submit that with the submit button, and we ask that you send that to all panelists instead of just one individual, as it's sometimes easy to lose those if they're just sent to one person. Also, if you have a question you'd like to answer at the end of the presentation, we'll have a question and answer period, and you should see a raise hand icon near your name. And if you click on that, we will do our best to enable your phone connection or your microphone so that you can ask your question verbally. We do have 4 quick poll questions at the end of the presentation, right before the question and answer period. If you'd please provide your feedback, we'd appreciate that, and that gives us some assistance in planning our future webinars. There will also be an opportunity after those questions, or after the question and answer period, to enter any comments that you have about the session if you'd like to do that. We are recording this, and we'll be archiving it on our website at agrability.org under the online training link. And if you go to the Virtual National Training Workshop, under that you'll be able to see the recording. It should be within the next week. Any problems, if you're having technical issues, if you'd please use the chat window if you're able to do that. If you, for some reason, are kicked out of the session or can't use the chat window, please email me, jonesp@purdue.edu, and that's also the same email from which you received your instructions for logging in today. Some of you may not be familiar with AgrAbility. I'm sorry the text got shrunk on this slide, but AgrAbility is a program sponsored by USDA NIFA. Our focus is on helping people in agriculture that have some kind of disability or functional limitation. Every land grant or every AgrAbility project is a partnership between a land-grant university and at least one nonprofit disability services organization. Currently, there are 20 state projects around the country, and the national project, again, is led by Purdue's Breaking New Ground Resource Center, and our partners include Goodwill of the Finger Lakes April, which is the Association of Programs for Rural Independent Living, Colorado State University, and Washington State University. No insult to Washington State because their text got shrunk. I just need to check my formatting on my slides better. They are as much an important partner as everybody else. If you have more questions or want to find out more about AgrAbility, you can find out if your state has a project. You can also see recordings of about 55 webinars that we've done in the past. If you go to agrability.org, please feel free to do that. Okay, at this point, I'm going to turn things over to our National Program Leader, Aida Balsano, and she's going to be giving the bulk of the presentation. We'll come back in a little bit after she's finished with our polls and our question and answer.
Hi, thank you, Paul. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you fine.
Okay, wonderful. Good morning, everyone. This is Aida Balsano. I come to you from the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. I am with the Division of Family Consumer Sciences. I provide with a group of wonderful folks at NIFA oversight for the AgrAbility Program at USDA, as well as for the Youth Farm Safety Education and Certification Program as well. It's good to be with you this morning. I am pleased as well that though we had a brief government shutdown that affected us only yesterday, and that I'm able to be here with you today.
Ada, I just need to interrupt for just a second. I forgot to mention that you're not going to be using video. I just wanted to make sure the audience realized that and didn't think it was an error on their computer.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Paul was very accommodating. I'm not doing 100% today, and so I asked if I can do without a video. So I appreciate that. So as I said, I bring you greetings from USDA NIFA, and I always like at the beginning of presentations such as this one to just give folks some sense of where the office where I'm at, where does it sit within USDA and NIFA, and with that to kind of give you some sense of a resource, not just programmatic, but also in people that you have on our side. So for those of you who might not be familiar with NIFA, NIFA is one of 4 USDA agencies that make up USDA's Research, Education, and Economics mission area. Unlike some other agencies, we do not perform research, education, and extension work ourselves, but rather we put our funding out there. Some of it is competitive, some of it is capacity funding to assist our stakeholders in conducting research, education, extension at state and local and regional levels, and for the stakeholders to provide program leadership in those areas. And our main partners are land-grant university system and cooperative extension, but they're not an exclusive recipient of some of the funding that we push out. On the slide that you see here, I just wanted to give you some sense of also, as I said earlier, where I sit and where the program is. NIFA has Institute of Bioenergy, Climate and Environment, Institute of Food Production and Sustainability. There's Institute of Food Safety and Nutrition, Institute of Youth, Family and Community, and then we also have Center for International Programs, and then you see under that same grouping is our Planning, Accountability and Reporting Office. So AgrAbility has actually administratively that the oversight is provided by the Institute of Youth, Family and Community and Institute of Food Production and Sustainability. And I want to emphasize this because what it means is that at the USDA side, you have really good supporters for this program who both come from the ag production side, who are, some of the folks are ag engineers, by training, but then you also have social behavioral scientists who support the program as well. So administrative oversight, the primary administrative oversight is with the agricultural systems with IFPS. Brett Rain, who's division director, is providing that oversight. On youth, family, and community side, we have Caroline Krokel, Dr. Caroline Krokel, who's division director for family and consumer sciences. And then right below them, you see me on the left side, Aida Balsano. As I said earlier, I'm with Family and Consumer Sciences. And then a couple of years ago, Stephen Thompson joined us as a national program leader, and he's with Division of Agricultural System, and he serves as a secondary national program leader for AgrAbility. Also on our team, we have Leland Dixon, who is a program specialist, and she's the Division of Ag Systems, and then program assistant also with DAS, Marietta Pannell. You often communicate, I think, with Leland, especially when it comes to your, those of you who are grantees, when it comes to your continuation proposals, and you will be hearing more from Leland in the next couple of months as well. So I just wanted a little bit to reflect on, you know, what we have that's going on currently, to share just a few thoughts. As you know, we just came out of a very brief, hopefully it's not going to be repeated, shutdown that we had on this end. We are operating on a continuing resolution. This is unusual that we have, at least since I've been at NIFA for the last 7 years, that we have a fourth continuing resolution in a row. But we are really hopeful and optimistic that within the next 3 weeks, Congress will be able to reach necessary agreements to push forward and approve fiscal year 2018 budget. We're currently operating at the 2016-2017 budget, but what that also means is that anything that's not currently reflected in the President's budget for 2018, the proposed budget, is perhaps put a little bit on hold in terms of us pushing it out, making the announcement out to our stakeholders. But I do want to reassure you that a lot of the activities internally are happening. And as you see, in preparation for what we expect might happen when the Congress agrees on the budget and the budget is finally approved. NIFA will and does continue to release requests for applications for our competitive programs. AgrAbility one, several folks have reached out to me even just in the last month asking about when you can expect this RFA to be published, and the deadline keeps moving, and it's in part because of what we're going through with the budget. My current estimation is that it will be released in February 2018. In 2017 was fiscal year 2017 was a good year for AgrAbility. AgrAbility is funded under the Farm Safety Funding line item, which includes both AgrAbility and Youth Farm Safety. Funding didn't change much in comparison to the previous year, so that budget line item was at $4.6 million, and we're hoping that for 2018 that we will see that level maintained. In 2017, after administrative costs were taken out, we had approximately $4.1 million that was allocated directly towards the awards. And when I say administrative costs, what that means is some of the money comes out to cover costs of the panel that needs to review all of the proposals. Some of the cost covers, which is pretty little for NIFA administrative side. And then out of the $4.6 million also comes the funding for youth farm safety. In 2017, we were able to support 18 continuations. 17 of them were state or regional AgrAbility projects, and we were able to support a national AgrAbility project. And then 3 new SREPs were awarded funding. All SREPs received up to $180,000 per year, and NAP last year was awarded $531,000. I provide here on the slide, and I think folks will have access to these slides perhaps later on, but the link that you see on your screen, if you click on it, it'll take you directly to NIFA website and a list of projects, AgrAbility projects that have been funded to date, and then you can click on each one of them and see details of what different states are doing. I have this slide in here as a reminder to everyone to connect with each other on your AgrAbility projects, or if you're new to the AgrAbility program, on the National AgrAbility Project website, you will find this interactive map that will take you directly to contacts within each state. This is unusual year when it comes to applications, because once every 4 years or so we have large number of current states that are receiving funding. They are in their final year of funding, in their 4th year of funding, and so in 2018 we will see 14 current SRAPs possibly be reapplying. We'll be expecting that they might reapply for funding. And this will be in addition to new states, some of which have reached out to us at NIFA to express interest in the program. And so, I'm expecting at this end that we might see 2025 different applications coming in. I know probably some of you will have questions about fiscal year 18 requests for applications and what can be expected. Please, if you have the questions about that, put them in the chat box. We'll come back to it at the end of the presentation. I would be more than happy to talk about it with you and to share what I know at this point. But again, the map is there as a reminder to connect with each other, to connect with resources within your state and across state lines to see whom can you partner with and how can you be more competitive in this process of going after AgrAbility funding. For those of you who are currently receiving funding from the AgrAbility program and who will be continuing, who are maybe currently in your 1st, 2nd, or 3rd year of funding, your submissions for continuations will not go through grants.gov. We started doing this differently last year. So you will be submitting your applications directly to our program staff, and we will be in communication with you about that. Should you experience any challenges, any issues along the way with submitting your continuation proposals to us, please just make sure that you get promptly in touch with me or Leland or Steve, and we'll address those issues right away and make sure that your continuations are processed quickly. I also wanted to share with you that in 2017, as relates to farm safety, that we did something different with our Youth Farm Safety Program. Youth Farm Safety Education and Certification Competitive Grants Program that NIFA also has doesn't have much funding. Yearly, it receives around $300,000. But the program itself has had an enormous impact on moving the needle in the area of youth farm safety. The program in 2017 continued the national coordinated approach to provide agricultural safety and health education for youth. What we did differently in 2017, and I was very pleased to see that we got internal approval from our policy office and other offices to do this, was to turn Youth Farm Safety Education and Certification Program more into, kind of in terms of how it's being administered, to turn it more into what it looks like with AgrAbility. So we were able to now have this program where we can fund $100,000 per year for a single project, but projects would be funded up to 4 years, which is the case currently with AgrAbility. When you apply and you're awarded funding, you can ask for funding for the next 4 years. The only thing to keep in mind is that AgrAbility and Youth Farm Safety funds are one-year funds, so we are very closely linked to the budget when we have to wait for the budget to be approved for you to get the next year of funding. But in that application process, which is what we did with Youth Farm Safety, we provided that opportunity for grantees, prospective grantees, to ask for commitment from NIFA for up to 4 years, and we were able to do that. We funded 3 projects. One of them is State National Clearinghouse project. The effort there is to continue with the progress that has been made with State National Clearinghouses that is currently existing, that has really strong online presence. One award went to support Youth Farm Safety Education Certification Instructor Training Project, where the focus is on supporting recruitment and training of youth farm safety instructors in currently available youth farm safety curricula. And then the third project is looking at youth training to continue, funding was given to continue development of new enhancement of current youth farm safety curricula, implementation and piloting of those curricula with youth, and then the evaluation component that's necessary for effective replication of these trainings. So we're really pleased in 2017 what we were able to do with this small program, small in terms of the amount of funding that it has, but it has quite an impact. If you are not familiar with the program or you would like to know more about it, just go to NIFA's website. If you type in Youth Farm Safety, the most recent information will pop up. What's also nice about Youth Farm Safety is that with this new way of funding, which is up to 4 years, we were able to also include in there that the 3 grantees need to collaborate in a way, share information with each other so that we can grow and enhance, say, National Clearinghouse moving forward. Another thing that I wanted to share with you today was a little bit about Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program. A number of you, I'm sure, are aware of the program. This is a program that gets funded through Farm Bill. We're waiting to see how things will shape up for the program in 2018, 2019, and beyond. What was really wonderful for the AgrAbility program for farm safety is that in the current farm bill that we have, last time when the farm bill was discussed, that very clear connection was made between BFRDP and AgrAbility, and prospective applicants for BFRDP funding were encouraged to collaborate or to partner with AgrAbility if they're serving a clientele where AgrAbility program would be a benefit to that clientele. So that was really, really good to see. BFRDP also has a very strong focus and dedicated funding for working with veterans, which is what we're seeing AgrAbility do as well. In 2018, there's approximately $17.7 million available under this program, so it's a really good partnering opportunity for those of you interested in this and interested in interfacing this program with AgrAbility. The 2018 RFA was released in November. Applications are due very soon on February 8th. But I encourage you, I provide here a link to projects that were funded between 2009 and 2016. And you can click on this link and go and check out and see what different grantees are working on. And if there's perhaps somebody in your state that down the road you might be interested in partnering with. There's also a digital library of the BFRDP clearinghouse. It's a house at farmanswers.org. And there are over 4,000 items more now of publications, videos, apps, online courses, and more that you might find useful in your work with beginning farmers and folks in AgrAbility that you serve through the AgrAbility program. I also wanted to share with you that, excuse me, NIFA, in addition to providing programmatic oversight for AgrAbility and youth farm safety and then Beginning Farmers and Ranchers program, which, by the way, I should mention that Beginning Farmers and Ranchers program team has several folks from other teams serving on their team so that they can better inform the program. And so the AgrAbility, I sit on that program representing interests of the AgrAbility program and focus of the AgrAbility program. NIFA provides programmatic oversight also for multi-state research groups. One of them is NSERA 197, Agricultural Safety and Health Research and Extension, that was initiated. This group was initiated in 2000. They're extremely productive, very cohesive group, very effective. They have 17 members that are from land-grant universities. 2 of them come from Canadian institutions, and 2 from NIOSH. Their focus is on summarizing research literature, engineering needs, outreach opportunities that are related to agricultural safety and health. They seek to encourage more research and outreach by land-grant universities in this area, and then they also support youth safety activities and encourage increased standards activity to reduce hazards and risks of agricultural work in general. As I said, this is a very, very active, proliferate group. They received in 2014 North Central Region Award for Excellence, very well deserved, very timely. You see on the, if you're following this online, there's a link there that if you click on it, it will take you directly to a description of what this group does, their members, how to contact their members and such. The group meets annually at NIFA. All of the multi-state research projects that NIFA supports, they meet at least once a year, and I'm fortunate as somebody who's a liaison to this group that they meet at NIFA. So with our tight traveling budgets, I'm able every year to sit in on their meetings and learn from them, learn immensely. But this group is a wonderful resource. And as I said, when you get a chance, if you can, go visit the website and find out who the members are. Another resource that you might be interested in working with, whether you're working with veterans, with beginning farmers, returning farmers. We have a lot of folks who have farmed in the past, then went on to other occupations, and they're now returning. We get a lot of those calls at NIFA from kind of returning new farmers, I guess. And also in working with farmers with or without disabilities. And this is an interesting, very helpful resource, USDA's New Farmers website. It provides one-stop shop for beginning farmers and, as I said, returning new farmers to learn more about how to access USDA services that can help their operations thrive. I refer farmers who reach out directly to my office often to this website, as well as to state and regional projects. The website has in-depth information for new farmers and ranchers, information such as how to increase access to land and capital, how to build new market opportunities, how to participate in conservation opportunities, how to select and use risk management tools, to access USDA education, technical support programs, and list goes on and on. AgrAbility is featured on this website. If you look under a New Farmers tag and you go to Education and Assistance, you will find AgrAbility. And we have received internally a lot of traffic and a lot of inquiries about AgrAbility from folks actually going to New Farmers website and then coming to us for more information. So as I said, use this as a resource in your work with farmers. And I think in step 3, if you check out step 3, has resources for new farmers, especially access to land and capital. That's one question that I get a lot from folks who are returning to farming. How can they access land and funding to grow their business, in addition to the needs that they have as disabled farmers? Every year I share with this group the latest edition of Rural America at a Glance publication. The one that you're seeing on your screens is from 2017. It was released in November 2017. This is a report that USDA's ERS office puts out. And the report highlights the most recent indicators of social and economic conditions in rural areas, focusing on U.S. rural economy. It includes information about employment, population, poverty trends, and educational attainment trends. And I always highlight this report because I think it provides those of you who are interested in working within the context of AgrAbility programs or within BFRDP or interfacing with partners in this area. This kind of a report provides really nice background that you can use to justify some of the activities that you're doing or why you need to be in a particular area. So especially since we'll have a large number of you reapplying, this particular publication maybe can be a good reminder to also look out there for similar publications and reports on what's the state of rural America currently, and how can you tie those reports into what you're proposing to do. As you know, with this administration, there is a lot of emphasis on rural United States, rural America, and on the increasing economic prosperity of rural America and addressing issues that are in the way of getting to that prosperity. I would also like to share with you, as I have before, that NIFA has a small competitive program that is growing now somewhat in 2018. It's called Rural Health and Safety Education Competitive Grants Program. It's a wonderful grant opportunity for those of you or your partners and colleagues who might be interested in looking at addressing aspects of farmers and their everyday life that AgrAbility is not able to touch on. Rural health and safety education is just like AgrAbility program. It's extension focus, it's outreach focus, but the focus with this one is on how to get information about health and helpful, health promoting behaviors to the population, how to share it with them and how to get them access to that information. So in rural health and safety education in the past has addressed all sorts of topics from our land grants, and land grants are the ones that can apply as leads. So the grantees have addressed topics such as as wide as looking at chronic diseases, looking at obesity, at diabetes, looking at even things on the other spectrum, bullying among youth and how detrimental for health that can be. We have had a couple of grantees look at educating rural population about quality of water in their wells, doing testing of the water and training them, teaching them on what they need to do, what they can do to address possible challenges there, possible problems. So what's interesting is that in response to the congressional directive that NIFA received as part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act in 2017, in 2017 funding that we had for rural health and safety education, priority was given to meritorious applications that address opioid abuse, misuse and abuse, and the opioid epidemic that we're seeing throughout the country. And I'm sure you've seen more and more reports coming out about that, about the opioid crisis and how it's disproportionately affecting rural areas. So I wanted to highlight that for you because with rural health and safety education in 2017, 9 awards were given out, and of those 9, 6 were focused on prevention of opioid misuse and abuse in rural communities. And this is through research-informed and evidence-based approaches and education, that informal education. I'm mentioning this to you because in 2018 we see strong support from the current administration for this program to continue and to not just to continue, but to also continue having that focus on rural health, specifically on opioid use and misuse. I don't think at this point that will be the sole focus of the program, but I did want to highlight that for you in case you're seeing these as issues among the clientele within the AgrAbility services that you're providing. I wanted you to know that coming down the pike will be grant opportunity that you can apply to, where you can, if you wish, look specifically at health education and for your clientele, and in this case specifically as relates to opioid use and misuse and addressing the issues in rural United States linked to that. So in closing, I want to encourage you to stay in touch with us at NIFA. I wanted to make sure that we have ample time for questions and answers and a little bit of discussion this morning. But I'm sharing here with you links to NIFA's website, to our Twitter account. We have very active social media presence. And I appreciate I have received from a number of AgrAbility grantees current stories, highlights of what's happening in your states, with your clients, with your farmers. We raise that visibility. What we do as program staff, AgrAbility Program staff, we share that with our communications office. And I'm seeing that every once in a while, some of those stories get picked up and they get additional visibility through our social media. So please keep communicating with us and share with us your stories. Also, when the next request for applications comes out, and this is the case, every year when RFAs come out, you will get to see what we're proposing that grantees do with the AgrAbility funding. But we also encourage everyone to look at those requests for application and think about, are we missing something? And to provide your stakeholder input to us on how you think the program is doing, and if there is a particular area of programming that AgrAbility should be addressing, given the way that AgrAbility is set up. Do we need to pay more attention to something and things like that? So use our social media to share your information with us about what you're doing, but then also to stay abreast of through NIFA's website when these RFAs are coming out, and then to the extent that you have time and opportunity to share your stakeholder feedback with us. Please know that you can always send your input and your questions directly to me or to Stephen Thompson. You can also send them directly to Leland. In our request for applications, there's just a generic email address that's listed for your input. But I want you to know anything that's submitted through that email, if you're not contacting us directly, anything that's related to AgrAbility farm safety will quickly make its way and find to me and Steve and find us, and we'll answer your questions that way too, and let you know that we have received your input. So with that, I will close my presentation, and I would like to ask if folks have questions. As I said earlier, any questions, if you have any questions about upcoming RFA, the application process, I'm more than happy to share with you what I can.
Thanks so much, Aida, for that presentation. And again, we do appreciate the fact that you're here today and that we weren't thwarted by the shutdown. So thank you again for your efforts to participate. While we...
Okay, thank you, Paul. So I see first question is, since AgrAbility is authorized through the Farm Bill, do you know AgrAbility's status in the bill at this point and when a draft might be available? I am not privy in the position where I sit. I'm not privy to what's currently being discussed for the Farm Bill. Our program staff, when there are questions on the Hill or internally within USDA about the program, and there are questions about the program and the impact, we're always ready, and we do really quick turnaround to provide information that's the most pertinent and that, of course, shows the program in a good light. And this program has done a lot. For 2018, as you know, AgrAbility was not included in the President's budget, but the program itself does seem to have strong support within House and Senate. I know that on USDA's side, there are a lot of supporters for the AgrAbility, and as it relates to the Farm Bill, I know that tomorrow, I think Wednesday, U.S. Secretary for Agriculture Sonny Perdue is expected to roll out the USDA's Farm Bill and what they call Farm Bill and Legislative Principles for 2018. So I'm expecting also to know more after tomorrow. But I know that a lot of conversations, of course, are already discussions about the Farm Bill are already underway. And even as early as a year, 2 years ago, we were being asked to provide information about AgrAbility and its successes and where the program is heading for that purpose. What I'm hoping to see is that AgrAbility will, of course, remain to be funded, and I expect to see, if not greater connection between AgrAbility and BFRDP, to see the connection that we've had over the last 4 years, to see that maintained. Question 2, if the RFA is published in February 2018, how long will it be open until the applications are due? So let me preface my answer by saying that when we're thinking about the deadlines, we also always, if we're going into spring, we do keep in mind when the NTW National Training Workshop is going to occur and that people need time to prepare for that. On the programmatic side, our desire is to give prospective grantees at least 60 days, if not more if possible, for you to put your proposals together. And I think when we have a grant year such as the current one, when we're going to have a lot of applicants and we know that people need sufficient time to create the partnerships and put everything in line for these proposals, we know that everybody benefits from stronger proposals, and that happens when we are able to give more time. So really at this point, I said, I think last time when we had all staff AgrAbility meeting that I was expecting in early January that the RFA would come out. We did not know then the delays that we would still be, experiencing with the budget and such. So I'm, always remain optimistic. So if it comes out in early February, we're looking March, April, end of April, probably. Just for your own understanding and knowledge, the way that this process works is that when we start a new fiscal year, which is October 1st, program staff is tasked with writing up new RFAs right away, going over stakeholders' feedback and writing it up right away. So the AgrAbility RFA for 2018 was actually developed in November. and then it had to go through a line of review that's outside of program staff. We're talking there about policy, which the RFA successfully passed all of that, and then a whole line of signatures from upper administrators within NIFA, and then it goes to REE, USDA area where we need signatures from undersecretary in their office over there. So the RFA is about ready to go. So we're just, at this point, we're just waiting for the light for it to be released. But as I said, program staff will push for 60 days past after the RFA is published for folks to have 60 days to apply. Question 3. In your presentation, you showed a map of current AgrAbility straps and map, but it also showed affiliated projects. Could you explain what these are? Great catch. So AgrAbility has, USDA has enough funding to support 20 state original AgrAbility projects. Right now, they're primarily state regional projects. However, we get inquiries from states where there's no, from clients where there's, in whose states there are no AgrAbility projects. We get inquiries from them about AgrAbility and how can they access AgrAbility services. There also might be people on the ground who are doing AgrAbility work to small extent, but they're not funded by us. So what happens is that National AgrAbility Project actually is reaching out to these, will reach out to these teams and work with them. National AgrAbility Project might send their own people over there to assist and see, what can be done in the absence of direct funding from USDA. So that's why you will see on a map like that there are actually affiliated projects. There are activities happening in particular states, but they're not officially USDA-funded projects. Question 4, will new proposals be submitted through grants.gov? If so, will it require the use of workspace as the current BFRDP RFP? Not as far as I know. Back to the question about workspace. But proposals will have to be submitted through grants.gov. That's how new proposals. That's how we do it every year. BFRDP might be using something that's specific to them. Workspace for them might work better. But for our new applications at this point, as far as I know, just directly through grants.gov.
Any final questions before we close up for today, or for this morning, I should say? Well, Aida, thank you again for joining us today. We certainly appreciate your time and effort in sharing with us, and we look forward to more information as we approach the time of the RFA. And so we again, just thank you for all you do for our project. Again, we welcome you to join us for the other sessions of our annual web conference. Again, this afternoon is Mental Health First Aid, and that begins at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And if you want to check out the other sessions that are going to be held, just refer to the link that was in the email for your instructions. So with that, I'm going to end our session for this morning, and thank you again for attending.